Hi! Today I'm going to continue my series on King Henry VIII by exploring the life of Thomas Stukeley or Stukeley, a man rumoured to be an illegitimate son of Henry VIII. Philippa Jones, in her book The Other Tudors, asserts that it was commonly believed that Stukeley was Henry VIII's bastard son, noting his strong resemblance to the king. But who was he? What do we know about him? Thomas Stukeley was born around 1520, the third of 5 sons, along with 6 sisters, of Sir Hugh Stukeley of Atherton Castle in Devon, and his wife Jane, daughter of Sir Lewis Pollard. Thomas Stukeley came from a distinguished family. His maternal grandfather was a Justice of the Common Pleas, and his father served as a Sheriff of Devon and a Knight of the Body to Henry VIII. Thomas likely attended one of the inns of the court before starting his military career, a path often taken by boys of good standing to learn enough law to defend their inheritance. By 1545 he was serving at Berwick Castle, and from 1547 he was a well-paid standard-bearer at Boulogne. His substantial earnings were equivalent to over £60 a day in today's money. Stukeley's adventures were numerous and often controversial. In 1550 he served as a standard-bearer in the Scottish borders and escorted the Marquis de Maine to Scotland. The next year, he joined Robert Dudley's embassy to the French king. I'll say that section again. Despite his connection with the Dudleys, Stukeley supported Edward Seymour, Edward VI's former Lord Protector, who of course had been ousted by John Dudley, in Seymour's bid to return to power. This led to Seymour's arrest for treason and ultimately his execution. Stukeley fled to France, avoiding arrest and leaving a number of debts behind. He seems to have been someone who rather lived beyond his means and who borrowed heavily. In France, he served the French in their war against the Habsburgs, returning to England in 1552 with a letter of recommendation from Henry II to Edward VI. However, his claim that he was a French spy sent to England and that the French planned to attack Calais and to invade England led to his imprisonment in the Tower of London. Nobody believed him. In 1553, on Queen Mary I's accession to the throne, Stukeley was released and he returned to being a soldier, serving in the Emperor's forces and for the Duke of Savoy in campaigns against the French. He returned to England in 1554 and he married heiress Anne Curtis, which briefly eased his financial woes. However, in 1555, accused of coining false money, he fled again, resuming service with the Duke of Savoy. Stukeley's exploits included fighting at the Battle of St. Quentin in 1557 and engaging in privateering, or rather piracy, against the French and Spanish ships. Despite several legal troubles, he often escaped imprisonment due to lack of evidence. In the early 1560s, Stukeley was involved in military and diplomatic missions, including an embassy with Henry VIII, Lord Deputy of Ireland, to Shane O'Neill in Ireland. Stukeley's career in Ireland was tumultuous, although he gained favour with Queen Elizabeth I by pleasing Sydney when he was able to find out crucial information about Shane O'Neill's plans. But his time there was marked by imprisonments and disputes over offices. In 1564, after his first wife's death, he married Elizabeth Peppard, a wealthy Irish widow. But despite Stukeley's efforts in Ireland, Elizabeth I did not support his ambitions there. His imprisonment in Dublin Castle in 1569 for obstructing Nicholas White's rights to the office of seneschal and allegedly using coarse language about the Queen highlighted his rather contentious nature. After his release, Stukeley pretended to head to England, but instead went to Spain with his son William, receiving favour there from Jane, Duchess of Feria, and her husband. He was given a pension, a house, and enrolled as a Knight of the Order Calatrava, and addressed at the Spanish court as the Duke of Ireland. He spent years seeking support from Philip II of Spain and the Pope for an expedition to Ireland, finally embarking in 1578 with a force of 700. However, his venture ended tragically at the Battle of Alcácer Quibir, or the Battle of the Three Kings in Morocco, where he was killed when his legs were blown off by cannon fire on the 4th of August 1578. This battle was immortalised in George Peele's play The Battle of Alcácer, published in 1594, which featured Stukeley as the main protagonist. Thomas Stukeley's biographer, Peter Holmes, describes him as a brave and intelligent soldier, but also a devious man who courted the limelight. William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, criticised him harshly, writing that he had the highest degree of vainglory, prodigality, falsehood, and vile and filthy conversation of life, altogether without faith, conscience, or religion. Harsh words. The question of whether Thomas Stukeley was Henry VIII's illegitimate son remains unanswered. Peter Holmes notes that it was Elizabeth I's withdrawal of favour in 1566, when Thomas wanted promotion in Ireland, that seems to have been the turning point in his life, as her treatment of him helped to justify his move to treason, particularly as at that point Thomas had the favour and support of men like William Cecil. Holmes writes, whether Elizabeth's suspicions and Stukeley's intemperate response to them really did stem from a belief that he was her half-brother is an interesting and unanswerable question. Philippa Jones suggests that the behaviour of Edward VI, Mary I and Elizabeth I towards Stukeley indicate that they believed him to be their half-brother. Jones writes of how he was a spy, double agent, pirate, bankrupt, forger, liar, fraudster and traitor, but that he only suffered a few months in prison for his crimes. However, it was lack of evidence against him that led to the cases against him being quashed, and he tended to flee to avoid trouble and arrest. It's quite a leap to suggest that it was down to him being their half-brother, particularly when there were other men who also got away with things due to royal favour, lack of evidence, or fleeing. There is no solid evidence to support the claim that Stukeley was Henry VIII's son, only hearsay and circumstantial details. James Fitzgerald, an Irish exile who met Stukeley in Rome, mentioned that some believed Stukeley to be Henry VIII's son, but this was merely repeating rumours. Philippa Jones also cites a 17th century broadside ballad, The Famous History of the Life and Death of Captain Thomas Stukeley, as evidence for his paternity, with it saying, "Yet with this blood of ours, the blood of kings shall be commixed, and with their fame our fame shall be eternised in the mouths of men." But that's a ballad, not a historical document. It's not evidence. There are also no records of Stukeley claiming this lineage, or of Henry's legitimate children acknowledging it. But is there any evidence for his mother being the king's mistress? Well, no, not that I can find. Amy Licence, in her book The Six Wives and Many Mistresses of Henry VIII, writes of how the king was reputed to have stayed at Atherton Castle, home of Stukeley's parents, but I couldn't find any mention of that in the records. There's just nothing to link her with the king, or any firm evidence to link her son with the king. In conclusion, the evidence for Stukeley being Henry VIII's son is scant and primarily based on speculation and hearsay. But what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do comment below. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.